पापा कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा, बेटा हमारा ऐसा काम करेगा, मगर ये तो भी न जाने कि मेरी मंजिल है कहाँ.
Roshan, brand new location, great background, great colors. Nice shirt.
Hey, thanks man. Wanted to go with the background.
Yeah. Hey, but studio is looking good. What do you think?
It's looking fantastic. Maybe you should play as a song. Yeah.
Why not? पापा कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा, बेटा हमारा और काम करेगा.
Keep the beat, dude.
Roshan, so excited to get started with this, but studio is looking great. How do you feel?
It's pretty awesome, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe we should
Hey,
play
you
a
have a
song.
ukulele. Why don't you play us something?
Yeah, why not?
पापा कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा, बेटा हमारा.
Why?
Hey, you know what? Why don't we just start off with the Startup Operators Weekly Roundup? Clearly, Roshan is here with a squeaky voice, and well, my voice compares nowhere close to anything harmonious which you would expect out of a singer. But let's get started with this conversation because it has actually been a while, and folks, a very long while, and we are so excited to show you guys a brand new studio, right? And glad you're doing this roundup. Ta-da.
Yeah.
No, but if you're thinking about it, when we did our first ever roundup, and back then we used to be streaming it live on YouTube, right? We started streaming, and both of us did not realize that we were actually.
Yeah,
live.
I think roundup number 1 for about 2 minutes is just Gunjan and I staring at the screen, not realizing that we're live, basically. So yeah, I mean, we've come a long way since then. Very, very happy to see you guys again and talk to you. Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. My voice is out, but hopefully my content will make up for it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we do have some great content, right? I mean, we're doing the roundup after a while, so there are quite a few big headlines and a huge boost to the UPI ecosystem as well. I think the framework now allows for international cross-border payments in foreign currencies, similar to like how you would use your international debit card.
We're piloting that with Singapore,
Yeah.
basically, with the Pay Now integration. Yeah.
And then, well, of course, there has to be some drama in this while that passed. We had the whole collapse of ShareChat, which saw immense traction during the COVID times. But, well, right now it has hit troubled waters. Then we'll also be talking about India's growing gig economy. I think that also received some mention in the union budget announcement. Apart from that, India will be soon taking major leaps in becoming the global hub of providing lithium-ion batteries to the world because of the 5.9 million tons discovery in Jammu and
That's
Kashmir.
huge.
And then we have, of course, what's the buzz of the town right now, the whole Bing search.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about that along with some fundraisers. But Roshan, it's been a while. How are you doing?
Well, it's been a long while. It's been an eventful 3 or 4 weeks, I should say. We've spent quite a lot of time trying to set up this studio, and I think we're probably 70% there, right?
Yeah.
About 70% of the way. And then I can't wait for you guys to come and check us out in the studio. We'll perhaps do a few things live. So yeah, all good, man. Good to be back.
It's definitely good to be back. And somehow I feel this is so much more comfortable. Right,
Yeah.
I think the conversations are guys, but well, folks, do let us know how we are improving rather than us telling to ourselves. Do let us know in the comments below. One of the biggest headlines from the past few weeks was, of course, UPI going international. Earlier, UPI did make an announcement that it would work with countries like the UAE, Singapore, Mauritius, Nepal, and Bhutan. But I think last week, UPI went live with Pay Now, which is Singapore's UPI equivalent. I think they integrated with each other, through which Indians or UPI users today can transfer money directly in the foreign currency. So this is very similar to like how you would use your international debit card. And this goes a long way in improving the economy for both the countries.
But unlike the debit card or credit card that you might use, I mean, you don't have as much of merchant fees, right? UPI is instant. And you know, the massive adoption that UPI has seen, I was just looking at some of these statistics, right? In 2022, there were roughly, I think, 1,500 or 1,600 transactions every second of the year, right? 1.25 lakh crore of UPI, right? I mean, which is just crazy number. And this integration with Pay Now is going to be especially beneficial because there are quite a lot of expats in Singapore. There are a lot of Indian origin folks there, right? And when you think about remittances or when you think about payments and so on, there is a significant fee, right? I mean, this will save that 8 or 10% that they have to pay right now in order for them to send money here. So use cases could be, students there, or folks who have to collect or pay rent.
It will also be hugely beneficial for the student community over there, right?
Oh,
Because
massive.
a lot of
Yeah, for
Indian
sure.
students.
For sure, right? I mean, anything that facilitates, instant payments, seamless payments is really, really amazing, right? I mean, one of the most important things about the Indian internet is that it's monetizable, right?
Right.
Which is what makes it so lucrative. So this is fantastic, and I hope that this will kind of extend to the Middle East, maybe Canada, the US, etc. Right? Because I think we have to break this whole Visa, MasterCard, international payment hegemony, really.
Yeah.
And the other important thing about here is that the conversion of currency does not have to happen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, converting to dollars and then back to rupees again, right? You can just directly pay in rupee.
Yeah. So this is not the first time where one financial product of one country is being exported outside. Because earlier, I think there was with China where we saw Alipay and WeChat Pay, where they also tried to export their payment ecosystem in other countries. But the biggest challenge which they faced was merchants adopting them. Right? So how do you see this play out for UPI? Because UPI will be successful in Singapore or other countries, provided there's a strong enough merchant ecosystem over there.
Look, merchants will go for anything that is cheaper and that's more seamless, right? And all of these folks, Visa, MasterCard, etc. I mean, they do charge a lot to the merchants as well, right? So they will adopt UPI. I don't see any problem in that. And of course, I mean, you can't compare the China ecosystem because there's a lot less trust in China and Chinese products, etc., or companies, etc. Right? So yeah, this is awesome, and anyone with a Indian phone number can sort of avail credit, right? So yeah, good stuff all around.
Okay. Well, talking about China, earlier in 2020, right, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who of course is now follows Mr. Roshan Karyapai.
Man, so I slept for 4 hours,
Yeah.
Middle of the day, because I was super unwell. I wake up and then I see a notification that the Prime Minister is following me, right? I mean, which is crazy. Yeah, I think it's a milestone moment for the podcast also, I think.
Well, for the podcast and also for you, also congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a bit surreal.
Well, yeah. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi, I think it was mid 2020 when he announced the ban of Chinese apps, right? And at that time there was a huge moat in India that needed to be filled in, and we saw a lot of new startups come in, especially ShareChat, right, which owns the company Moj,
Yeah.
right? They were the replacement for TikTok, and investors were just pumping money into it. And recently we saw like how the company collapsed. Right, they laid off a majority of their workforce, right, and they stated reasons that the rules have become pretty redundant. But then the employees kind of fought back, saying, "Hey, the leadership is not present in the company; they're hardly there. How come their roles are not redundant?" Well, it's not only that; also their losses really widened in FY22. It became double to close to 3,000 crore rupees.
Wow.
Right, and this is a company that has been in the market for around 8 years. And if after 8 years a company is burning through crores and crores of rupees, right, which is in the tune of 25 to 30 million dollars a year, then that means something is wrong with how the company is operating.
See, 2021 was an outlier. We've said that multiple times on the podcast, right? So any modeling, any valuations that held true for 2021 simply does not hold true now, right?
True.
At that point of time, yeah, you could spend money to acquire users. We'll figure out the business model, we'll figure out LTV, all of those things. Everyone was in this land grab sort of a mindset, basically, right? And which is what you went and saw all of these people raise huge rounds, hundreds of millions of dollars, just to extend their services to as wide an audience as possible, right? And ShareChat has about 300 million users, but they really have not found a way to monetize this audience, right? And it's definitely a problem. And I was reading a couple of articles on how the founders are not there at the company and so on, right? I mean, we've hosted Farid of ShareChat, and certainly he had a lot of intelligent insights on growth and monetization, all of those things, right? But yeah, man, see, at the end of the day, it's just a shit ton of money with very young folks, right? And unless you're the type who is super driven, who is like really ambitious and who's almost maniacal in your execution, it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing being a founder. I'm not trying to make excuses for people kind of bailing out or something, or even saying that someone is bailing out. But one of the founders had even put up a post somewhere saying that my aim in life is to make 20 crores and then just check out, right? And I'm sure that a lot of them made much more than that in secondaries and so on. And this kind of begs the question about secondaries itself. See, and here's the thing about secondaries as well, right? Which is has changed. At least the attitude has changed quite a lot since back in the day. I mean, back in the day, you would do secondaries at a growth stage, right? And maybe 8 or 10 years into a venture. But these days, I'm hearing about secondaries in Series B and everything, man. I mean,
the last time ShareChat was valued at $5 billion.
Yeah. Insane, right? Yeah. So it's just a long game, guys. I mean, it's a long, long, long haul, in fact, right? If you have to be successful as a startup, it takes a minimum of 10 years. And if you have to be really legendary, it takes perhaps another 10 or 15 more, right? I mean, look at all of the really legendary startups, and you can think of Amazon, for example, right? First 15, 20 years, yes, they were, really, really great. But I think it's only in the last 10 or 15 years that they really made that difference, right?
Yeah.
With AWS and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, you really have to go long, and founders have to still be motivated, to just put in that time. And it's not always the case.
Well, talking about long games, right? I think right now India is in the hot seat, especially as the world is rapidly adopting EV vehicles, right? Recently, the Geological Survey of India discovered a 5.9 million ton reserve of lithium in Jammu and Kashmir. Well, not only will this give a huge boost to the state, but also give a huge boost to the world, because then India will become one of the largest exporters of this element, right? And while a single battery might need, I don't know, like what would constitute a tablespoon of sugar, but if you scale this up across, I mean, every car needs around 10 kg of lithium. Multiply that by millions, you'll get your number, right? And this really puts India in a sweet spot, especially with the investments the government has made to give a boost to this industry.
This is perhaps the biggest development of the year, of the last couple of years, I should say.
It's the white gold.
Because if it really pans out if it really pans out successfully, I mean, this could be a total game changer. We've not been super lucky resources wise, right? We do have some uranium deposits. We have coal in plenty, of course, but we've somehow figured out a way to bungle that up.
Yeah.
So, which is why I'm optimistic, but my fingers are crossed, right? Lithium is, as you mentioned, white gold, right? Lithium-ion batteries are the most efficient ones at the present, right? And there's just a huge demand for this, huge demand, and we've been importing it from Chile, Australia, and China. Chile has something like 9 million tons, and Australia and China have about 5 or 6 million tons, right? So with this, I mean, we could potentially become an exporter of lithium as well. But it's a long way out, I mean, in terms of extraction, refining, all of that stuff, right? So you're looking at perhaps another 5 or 10 year project. So let's hope that, things pan out well, and there's a stable government to ensure that, all of these humanitarian issues, environment issues don't suddenly crop up, and things like what happened with the Sterlite, factory happen, right? I mean, hopefully it doesn't go that way.
All right, so let's talk to what really has been the buzz of the month, right? Which is the whole Bing chat. Did you get to? No, you have not seen the video.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm super excited, man. I think we're reaching a point where people don't have the patience to sort of scan through the results, right? And I have seen at least for 30-40% of the queries that we put into Google, and something that I've been analyzing over the last 1 week, just my behavior itself. These are more like, hey, what is this, right? Or what is that sort of queries, right? And these are most fact-based queries. These are not things where I want to discover like 10 links and go through the trouble of like reading through pages, right? And so if I want a ready answer, then yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that I saw in the Bing search seems like superb. Amazing.
But see, I mean, while of course this is a huge leap in terms of not only in terms of AI, but also the impact it will have in our day-to-day lives. I mean, of course, there's an infographic which shows that how long did it take for technology to reach 100 million users, right? Of course, we had the iPhones, we had the personal computers, and all this stuff, and then we had OpenAI's Chat GPT, which took 2 months to reach 100 million users, right? So of course, there's a massive demand for it, but if you look a bit closer, this is killing so many businesses. I'm not getting into the debate of taking jobs.
The thing is, up until now, I think the only kind of jobs that were threatened by technology were the blue collar jobs, right? This is a serious move towards some of the white collar stuff, right? And think about the number of things that have to be reinvented. Look at university education, for example. Chat GPT can easily write an essay on anything, like good enough for a high school exam.
Yeah, at least you'll get your B plus.
Right. So what are you going to do now? So I've heard maybe university professors saying that we should do oral tests instead. Right. So things are going to change for sure.
Let's move on to some of the notable fundraisers from this past few weeks. First is of course the largest fundraiser of February till now. This is by Insurance Deco, which has raised $150 million in a mix of both equity and debt round. This was led by TVS Capital Funds and Goldman Sachs in the Series A. PhonePe raised the second highest amount, which is $100 million in addition funding. This is from Ribbit Capital, Tiger Global and TVS Capital Funds at a pre-money valuation of $12 billion. Then we have Garuda Aerospace, which is a drone startup that raised $22 million in a Series A funding round. And this was led by Spiti Cap with participation from other global investors, angel investors and HNIs. So it's good to see that we have a drone startup in the list this week.
And you notice that the check sizes are increasing. 150 million, and there's Fresh to Home, which raised about 100 million or so.
Yeah.
Right. And this drone startup has raised 22 itself. 22 is good enough to be a Series B or even a Series C round. So yeah, I mean, this is fantastic stuff, you know. Drone, of course, we've spoken about the new drone policy, which is an absolute game changer. And there's a lot of innovation on that front that's coming up, right? Do check out a couple of episodes that we shot, one with Ankit of IdeaForge and another with Vipul of RA One Man Systems. We'll link to that in the description. Hopefully give some work to our producer as well, aside from all of the stuff that he does. Right? But Fresh to Home is an interesting story, right? Because the co-founder is a former CEO of Zynga in India, you know. So he came together with this other co-founder who is I think his name is Joseph, right? Who was running a seafood export business, right? So it's a perfect match of technology and market expertise, right? And agri, man, I mean, there's just so much of scope, because even if you look at this fish ecosystem, right, seafood ecosystem, there are 3 or 4 middlemen in between, which are totally unorganized, right? No standards whatsoever. And so it's a perfect case for you to streamline with technology. So yeah, fantastic stuff, and their promise is to basically deliver fresh food to your house irrespective of where you are, right? I mean, at this point of time, I think they're probably in 3 or 4 cities. They want to extend it to 15, 20 cities with this fresh round of funding. Importantly, Mr. Joseph had shut down his business in 2014 or 2015 before starting Fresh to Home,
okay.
Because it wasn't doing financially well, and see how fortune has kind of changed, right? Insurance Deco is another fantastic business, very interesting. 80% of their business comes from tier 2, tier 3, apparently, right? And they're seeing a massive demand in life and health, right? Generally, I mean, GI is the most popular because obviously insurance is mandated for vehicles, right? But I mean, they're seeing a massive surge post-COVID, right? And they have the distributors in all of these, villages and so on. India has something like 6 lakh villages. So these folks are planning to invest and acquire, skill sets, assets, whatever, to sort of extend their services to all of these different nooks and corners of the country. So yeah, awesome stuff.
Right. So very interesting tweet for Talk of Town today. We have this tweet by Sridhar Vembu sir, who congratulates Elon Musk for finally getting rid of Salesforce and adopting Zoho for Twitter. Right. He also says that the entire team at Zoho is very happy and they'll be spending a lot more on R&D than on marketing. And of course, this will be passed on as savings to the end customer, which in this case is Twitter. But yeah, this is a big blow to Salesforce, I guess.
I'm going to say that this is sort of a turning point for Salesforce, right? And people are going to just like roll their eyes or whatever. But look, if you look at this whole return to office and the layoffs that started, right? I mean, it was a Musk movement, right? Musk firing 70% of Twitter. People thought that the platform will explode. I mean, it'll be down, there'll be chaos, etc. That hasn't happened clearly, right? That encouraged a lot more people to be bold on those fronts, right? And you've seen the massive layoffs that happened. And this was long due, right? I mean, I've been saying this for a while. I mean, if you're hiring 25-30% of your headcount, total headcount every year, you're going to double in 3 or 4 years, right? And there hasn't been that good churn that companies have usually, right? I mean, because people are in the sort of rest and west kind of a mode, and the evaluation standards have fallen, very anecdotally speaking. So yeah, I mean, I think this revisiting bulky software spend is another Musk moment, right?
Right.
Twitter spending $5 million for Salesforce. I mean, it seems a little funny because I don't know how much corporate business Twitter has really. Clearly their ad platform sucks, right? But and still sucks. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you look at Salesforce's pricing and so on, right, it can easily go up to 5-10 million for enterprises, right? With the additions, the plugins, and all of that.
Training, the onboarding, the
so I love Salesforce. I love Mark Benioff, but I think this is a Musk moment for the enterprise software industry. I think everyone's going to look at SAPs, Oracles, the Workdays, and the Salesforces of the world, and they're going to say, you know what? Do we really need it? Right? Or can we perhaps adopt a startup, right? Or some other company like perhaps Zoho or Waymo, for example.
Alright, so Roshan, what conversations are we putting on this week?
I recorded this conversation with Shruti of Apna Club ages ago, and we haven't really published it yet. They were due for some announcement, and so we had to delay it. Hopefully we will publish that this week. Yeah.
So folks, to know when these episodes are coming out, do keep an eye out on our social media handles. And of course, you want to be notified straight in your WhatsApp inbox, you can check the description for the link. Well, and also in the comments, do let us know what you think of this new studio and what are the various other ways in which we can improve. Right, and well, yeah, Roshan started from the bottom, now we're here.
Well, not yet, I suppose, right? It's always a work in progress, but this is a fantastic milestone. I'm feeling so happy sitting here and recording this with you. So we'll be experimenting with new types of content, shorts, reels, whatever. I think, the studio kind of gives us the wherewithal to sort of do that. Bear with us, keep your feedback and suggestions coming. We'd love to improve and we'd love to serve you good content.
Alright folks, we'll be back again next week. Till then, take care and have a great week ahead.
Bye guys. Cheers.